My step-by-step plan to go from zero to getting funded and receive your first payout with prop firms. What's good, guys? So in this video, I'm going to basically talk about my step-by-step plan, or the step-by-step plan I followed to go from zero to funded with 600K in less than 3 months, and also requesting my first couple of payouts, like I said, in just a couple of months. Being exact, actually like 2 months, to be honest. It was crazy. So let's get started real quick. So in general terms, we're going to evaluate 10 steps. So I'm going to be talking about 10 steps in this video. Step number one, and the most important one in my opinion, you guys are going to start backtesting. So there's literally no point at all to buy any prop firm challenge if you guys don't backtest. So you're going to dedicate at least a couple of weeks or even a couple of months to properly backtest the strategy. It doesn't need to be the strategy I trade. It doesn't need to be swing trading approach. It can be whatever approach you guys want, but you need data to support your decisions in the live market. How do you guys backtest? Well, I recommend getting Forex Replay, for example, which is a backtesting software, or you guys can also get the backtesting software from TradeSella or Forex Tester. There's multiple backtesting softwares, but you guys need to pay for a backtesting software. You guys need to invest. There's no good backtesting softwares that are free, at least based on my experience or based on my knowledge. I don't know any backtesting software that is actually good without a paid subscription. So you guys need to start investing, bro. This is your business. You want to grow your business, just invest and start backtesting. So if I show you this real quick, for example, this is my backtesting journal. And as you guys can see right there, I've backtested a lot of trades. This is not my only backtesting session. Like if we even open this right here, you guys can see all my folders right there. And there's maybe 10 or 20 more folders or 10 or 20 more projects where I backtested even more than 1,000 trades. So there's no excuse to backtest. That's the only way to build an edge, refine your strategy, and also build consistency in the live markets, understanding how your approach worked in the past. It's literally the only way to build a system. So you guys need to backtest a lot. You guys need to go over and over each pair. For example, I trade 28 pairs in total. So I had to do the following, bro. As you guys can see, I had to go over every single pair through multiple years and gather as much data as I could. Also important to mention, you need to take screenshots of your trades so you can save the setup and then look at the pattern back in time and just see how you're trading when you're backtesting so that you can replicate that in the live markets. Then point number two, we are going to purchase our first account. And this is extremely important, bro. You should never leave this as the least important area or the least important decision in this plan, because getting a good prop firm, especially at the beginning, is going to determine if you reach a funded account or reach your first payout, or if you just blow everything in the process. So at least the tool I use is this one right here. I'm going to show you real quick. I've talked about this platform multiple times. It's called Prop Firm Match. And in here, you guys are going to find everything in detail, everything backed by data, everything backed by verified reviews from real traders that have tested every prop firm. And you're just going to find the best information right there so that you can get the best prop firm. I know this might sound like a lot, but hear me out. It's pretty simple. You guys are going to go for the best prop firms right there. You don't need to overcomplicate anything. Just go into here. You click on popular, and you're going to go for the most popular prop firms. Why? Because these are the prop firms that perform the best, especially those, for example, like the fibers. Look at this one right here that have been operating for more than 10 years. So in simple words, they've been out in the industry for more than 10 years without going bankrupt, paying out their customers. So it's honestly really, really good. And you guys see, you can literally scroll down here and just find the best prop firms in the industry. Also important to mention, before purchasing an account, please look at the prop firm roles. So for example, Prop Firm Match has something really interesting, which is an AI summary. So an AI helps you rate a prop firm based on how good their roles are, or in other words, how difficult it is to trade with the prop firm. For example, Gold Funded Trader, they have a C, or a moderate rate. But if we, for example, scroll down to the fibers, we can see that this one has an A rate, or a very flexible rate, which means that it's really simple to trade with the fibers. For example, if we go to funding pips, it says that it's very restrictive, right? Or for example, funded next, it says that very flexible. If we keep just going down, for example, E8 markets, it says that it's very restrictive. So this doesn't mean that it's a bad prop firm. It just means that it's maybe a little bit more difficult for you, especially if you're starting out with prop firms, to get funded and request your first payout. So in my opinion, I just avoid this ones at the beginning. Whenever you master your strategy, you master your approach, you can go with the other ones. But I will highly suggest going with the ones that have a V rating, so in this case, flexible, or some that have a very flexible rating, so an A, as this one, for example, or as the fibers as I showed before. And now the risk management approach. So in simple words, we already backtested. We found that we have a simple system that has an edge, that has good data, and we already know what we're doing. Well, then we jump into buying the prop firm challenge, right? As soon as we bought the prop firm challenge, is now to define our risk management approach. The approach I've been using and the approach I highly recommend is the following. You trade with 1% per trade, you risk 1% per trade, you take every trade on every account, and you basically just copy trade all the accounts together. So I highly recommend getting more than one prop firm challenge. I understand everyone's budget is different. If you guys can afford to get multiple accounts, at least in my opinion, it's better, right? If you can't, well, and you just decide to start with one account, take all the trades on that account, risking 1% per trade, right? Of course, if your data says that you can take maybe based on your system 4 trades per day, well, that's not intelligent, because if you take 4 trades per day and that repeats and repeats every single day, and maybe even you hold trades for more than a day, there's going to be a point where you might have 10 trades open at the same time with 1% risk. You guys understand that with prop firms, there's something called max daily loss, and that wouldn't make any sense at all. But if you guys, for example, trade like me, swing trading, when I'm trading around 2 to 3 trades or 4 trades max per week, that works perfectly fine. So you guys can go ahead and place your trade with a 1% risk and just taking all the trades on every account you guys have. And then we start trading. So now we're in step 4. We start trading our prop firm challenges. We start taking every trade. We start following our rules. We start trading consistently, accepting losses as part of the process, also accepting wins without getting too excited or too confident about it, and just keeping things simple, taking trade after trade after trade, and most importantly, doing the following: journaling your trades. For example, this is my trading journal for this year, 2026. This is how I'm doing, for example, so far this year, right? I'm currently up 18R with a 34% win rate. And so far, I've journaled every single trade I've taken on this year. It doesn't matter if it wins. It doesn't matter if it loses. Every trade goes into here. Every metric is measured. And as always, I take my screenshot, copy it here from TradingView, and I just keep it that way. That way I'm measuring my data, and I'm also keeping myself accountable, knowing that there is a journal that is going to show how I'm doing for the year. And I don't want this to be super bad. I don't want this to show that I overtraded. I want this to actually reflect the same data I was looking when I was backtesting. So extremely important to have this in mind. And then hypothetically, because it happens, bro, it really happens, we pass to stage or step number 6, which is buy more accounts, because it's really likely that you guys are gonna experience a losing streak. And my system right here, my risk management approach to face or overcome the situations when you're losing is, as soon as my challenges, make sure and understand that we're trading every account on every challenge, right? So the challenges are gonna be having the same balance, most likely. If all the challenges or your one single challenge gets to a point where it's around -4 to -5% in drawdown, immediately you're gonna buy more challenges. It is what it is. You're gonna purchase more accounts, but only buy accounts if you went into drawdown because you respected your rules. So all the losses were completely valid. If you went into drawdown because you overtraded, because you made dumb mistakes, because you were not consistent, that means most likely you're not ready to buy more accounts and just start scaling. But if you are real with yourself, you track all your data, you journal every single position you took in the markets, and you realize that in reality you respected your rules, it was just the probability is not playing out in your favor that time, you need to purchase more accounts. Why? Because the way I see it is the following. If you had a couple of losses, at least based on my data, for example, again, I show you this real quick. I have a 34 to 35 to 36% win rate based on my backtesting. We can even see right here. Let me actually open the dashboard. And as you guys can see, well, here it says 39.6%. I forgot it was like actually really high. So in this case, specifically, if we go lower right there, we can see that my max losing streak is 7, which means that if I have a big losing streak, most likely after a couple of losses, a winning trade or a winning streak, it's right around the corner. So it's extremely important for us that in the moments when we're starting to lose or in the moments when we put our accounts in drawdown, we need to buy more challenges, because if we have those winning streaks, the new accounts are gonna pass. So most likely you're gonna pass phase 1, and the challenges that were in drawdown, you're gonna put them back at break even, and some of them even at super high in profit. So you're just maximizing and wasting the less amount of time. So we need to really be efficient and think about the prop firm business based on ROI, not based on emotions, not based on how much we've invested, how many challenges we've purchased so far. We really need to think based on ROI and of course save the most amount of time we can. So make sure in step 5, whenever you have a couple of losses, please make sure you're gonna get more accounts. And then finally, after working really hard, being consistent, you finally get to the 6th step, which is you get funded. So yeah, after a lot of effort, you finally get funded and you receive your first certificates, your first funded accounts, which by the way, with this approach, most likely you're gonna pass a lot of accounts at the same time. Why? Because you're trading and taking every trade on every account. So the growth, it's super exponential, because there's going to be a point where, like I literally said at the beginning, bro, in 2 months, I got funded with 600K. It was super fast because I had a lot of accounts on my inventory and I was trading every account at the same time. So you're going to lose some accounts, but at the same time, whenever you pass some accounts, every account is going to get passed literally at the same time. And you're going to start seeing a couple of challenges and a couple of certificates like this ones. And then step number 7, and one of the most important steps throughout this entire process, and literally the step that is going to guarantee or make the difference in if you request payouts or if you don't request payouts and you just blow your accounts immediately, which is reading the rules for your funded accounts. Why? Because make sure to listen this carefully, guys. The rules when trading prop firm challenges, most of the times with prop firms, are different than when you're trading a funded account. So let me paraphrase that again. The rules with prop firm challenges most of the times are different to the rules on funded accounts. And that's how most prop firms work nowadays. So what I recommend is, again, you guys are gonna go to this page right here. You're gonna go to prop firm match immediately, always. Every time you have any questions about prop firms, every time you want to just ensure you have the right information, open prop firm match, guys. And you're gonna go to the following. Let's say, for example, that we want to, I don't know, evaluate, let's say Alpha Capital, right? Let's say that we're trading Alpha Capital and we want to see the rules right there. So you guys are going to click on Alpha Capital right here. And in here, you're going to go to this section where it says firm rules. And if we scroll down, we can see that there's some rules that are just generic. Generic means that they work for challenges as well as funded. For example, the inactivity rule. But if we go into this section, we can see that we start seeing a couple of rules that are only for funded accounts. So on Alpha Capital, the qualified analyst account is a synonym of a funded account, or whenever you have a funded account. So for example, we can see here, news trading on qualified analyst accounts. Say for example, because I know how it works, with Alpha Capital, news are completely allowed and there's no restrictions at all when you're trading challenges. But when we're trading a funded account, news have a couple of issues, or at least a couple of things that we need to take into consideration. So it says allowed only for swing accounts, right? So at least for me, it's all good. But if you guys are not trading with swing accounts, you guys, for example, have this. If a trade is initiated within 2 minutes before or up to 2 minutes after a news release, a 4-minute window, for example, its duration must exceed 2 minutes for the trade to be valid, right? Or for example, for Alpha Pro, 80 to 10% accounts, trading around high impact news is restricted to 2 minutes before or after the news release. And we keep going and going. For example, drawdown adjustment rule for Alpha 1 accounts, or risk management, account rolling, and also really important, their payout policy, right? We can see that you can select either bi-weekly payout or 2% on demand, right? And if, for example, we want bi-weekly, we just read the following. If we want 2% on demand, we read the following. If we want the scaling plan, we read the following. And in here, I know it might be boring. At least for me, it's super, super boring to go over this. At least right now, I have a Google Sheets where I added all the rules for my funded accounts right now. So it's kind of like more summarized. If you guys are interested in that, let me know and I can send you the link, or I don't know, just reach out to me on Instagram and I can send you that Google Sheet. But this is the part that most traders avoid. And that's mainly why you see on social media people just complaining about, bro, I didn't get paid, I blew my account, I requested a payout and it was denied. Well, it's mainly because they never go over this. They never read the rules. And let me tell you, and I'm going to be completely transparent, you must do this because every prop firm has the little petite, super tiny letter on their contracts, on their rules, and we need to make sure we know exactly everything about our funded account so that we trade properly. And if we request a payout, the payout is going to be 100% approved. And then after you went over prop firm match, you check the rules, you know everything about your funded account. Now you're ready to start trading your funded accounts. So hypothetically, or at least in this case specifically, let's say that you passed 4 funded accounts at the same time. So now you're funded, let's say that you're funded with 400K. Every account was 100K, right? What you're going to do is the following. There's a lot of traders that start trading super aggressive and look for home runs and just look to maximize their payouts like super, super crazy. At least that's not the approach I follow. Maybe it's because my budget is not extremely big at the moment. Maybe because I've worked super hard for this funded accounts and I just want to go slow. I hope, or maybe most likely if you're watching this video, you're on the same page or on the same mindset like me. So maybe my recommendation is gonna be super, or it's gonna match your situation right now, which is basically you're gonna start trading the following. At least that's the way I do it. 1 trade per funded account. That's it, no more, no less. 1 trade per account. And that trade is gonna be taken with 1% risk. So the 1% risk roll keeps the same as in challenges. On challenges and fundeds, the 1% roll is going to remain the same. That's also going to show the prop firm that you're managing your risk properly and you're risking always the same amount on challenges as well as fundeds, and that decreases the chances of getting risk limited or maybe even, I don't know, like flagged as gambler. And you're going to trade 1 trade per account. If you have 4 trades or 4 setups that are presenting themselves at the same time, you're going to take 1 trade on 1 account, 1 trade on the second account, 3rd trade on the third account, and a 4th trade on the 4th account. So only 1 trade per account. It doesn't matter if it's correlated. It doesn't matter if it's similar. 1 trade per account. Simple as that, risking 1% per trade. As immediately as soon as you make a little bit of profit, super important, guys, listen to this. If you have a funded account that offers refund, so it offers a refund for the fees you paid on the challenge, make sure to request a payout as soon as you see a small profit in the account. For example, if we open this real quick, this prop firm right here, which is one of my favorites, FTMO, offers a refund, which means that if I purchase an account, let's say a 100K account at $600, immediately as soon as I get funded and make some profit in the account, it can be like literally, I think if I'm not wrong, like $200. Immediately you can request a payout. You get paid a small amount, really doesn't matter, because you're getting the refund for the fees you paid. So in this case, around $600, which means you're putting this account risk-free. There's already an ROI because you made some profit, plus you had the refund of the fees you paid for the challenge. And now this account is risk-free. Now you can start actually pushing this account for a bigger payout. So instead of closing fast, you can now aim for a 1 to 3 risk reward, risking 1%, which is going to be $3,000 in payout. If you have accounts that they don't offer a refund, like most of them at the moment, well, you can just go and aim for a 1 to 3 risk reward, and that's it. If you're comfortable and you just want to secure a payout, I also recommend maybe going for a 1-to-1 risk reward on your first trade, for example. So a small win, secure the payout, materialize the money right there. Because one thing is just seeing the numbers in a screen on your MT5, and another way completely different is receiving the funds on your bank account. Whenever the funds hit the bank account, on your mind something says, bro, this is actually possible. I can actually live from trading. And that hits completely different. It's an amazing feeling that I highly recommend. But my main point with this specific step, which is actually step number 9, make sure at the beginning, aim for small payouts, request those payouts, materialize that money, and then you can aim for bigger payouts. I don't recommend going for home runs. If you make a 1 to 3 reward, at least that's my opinion. If I have an account at break even, so at 0, so 100K for example, and I make a 1 to 3, immediately I make or request a payout. I'm not planning to risk my profit at all. I'm not planning to play with my profits. I want to request a payout and maximize my ROI with every funded account I have. And those funds, the funds I made from that account, are going to be reinvested in more prop firms and just start scaling and scaling and scaling. And that leads me to my last step, which is rinse and repeat. The system is pretty simple, straightforward. You guys are going to just get in love with how simple and mechanical it is. But super important, guys, make sure you're not spending 100% of that payout in dumb stuff, or just going out, or just purchasing alcohol, or just going outside to some parties. That doesn't really make sense, because remember, we worked really hard to get to this point, and the best way to actually keep scaling and keep getting better and keep getting bigger payouts is by increasing our capital. If we make a 3% profit on a 100K account, well, that's $3,000. But if we make 3,000 on a 1 million funded capital allocation account, that's 30K. You can see the huge difference, right? So we really need to increase our capital. The only way to increase our capital is to purchasing more accounts. And how do we purchase more accounts? Well, by reinvesting the profits we made from our funded accounts. And that's basically the plan. That's basically my step-by-step plan, how to get from 0 to funded and requesting your first payout. And in case you guys are wondering, maybe you're saying, bro, this guy is talking about payouts. Well, I'm not the trader that have received the biggest amount of payouts or the most amount of payouts at all. But I'm telling you, and I'm going to attach a couple of payouts in the screen. Bro, it took me some time, but at least I'm excited that I can literally say, bro, I've received some payouts this year. My first year getting consistent payouts, and with a lot of excitement, I can say that this approach worked, and this is the proof that it really works, because it worked with me. So I'm pretty sure it can work with you guys as well. So yes, guys, that was all for this video. You guys requested this step-by-step a lot. You always asked about how I reached 600K so fast. Well, this was the approach I used, and I invite you guys to test it out yourself. So I hope you guys liked the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. That's the best way you guys can support this content. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.